TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. As my computer says, Poland tomorrow will be off the charts. Gee, thanks. Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's time for the closing bell for Monday, June 3rd, 2024. Glad everyone survived the weekend. Crazy weekend of sports, the college baseball going on as we speak. Stanley Cup all set, Super Bowl, I was going to say. NBA Finals all set. It's Belmont week on Saturday, the final race of the Triple Crown. No Triple Crown winner this year. We'll have, hopefully, I think he confirmed, Mr. Smooth himself, Sean Alvarez, will be here on Friday, 1 o'clock, to talk Belmont. They're looking to confirm Brady Tinker, the Dallas voice, as the Mavs are in the finals. In the NBA, Stars get knocked out yesterday, so it'll be the Oilers versus Florida on Saturday. A passing of Larry Allen, 52 years young. Vacation in New Mexico, a Dallas Cowboy legend. Hopefully Brady will be on to talk about that as well. Shout out to our proud sponsor and partnership of WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play. Download the app. It's free. Travis, Zach, myself, and the rest of the team and community. A list too long to add to this part of the show. We'll take good care of you. So without further ado, let's bring him in. From Chi-Town himself, Mr. Riley Magnuson. Afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, my friend. Happy Monday afternoon. Ready to roll. I've got a little bit of a lull in the calendar here for at least 2-3 days, but plenty of good time to get ourselves rocking and ready to roll for all things NBA Finals and then NHL Stanley Cup, obviously. Like you said, solid weekend of sports action. It was a fun one. So, I'm sure we'll do a little bit of recapping and talk a handful of baseball games, but obviously nothing too crazy going on tonight, my friend.
Shout out to Mr. Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights, always with us. Thank you so much for your support and trust, Mr. Berry. I'm going to start somewhere. I was watching the UFC fight, the big one, Mr. Poirier. And the money just piling in. Everyone loves a big dog. They love a big story. And you and I had talked about it. We were trying to get a show off Saturday. And listen, full intention, full disclosure, just in front of the studio when the landscapers and the construction guys are here no notice, we wouldn't have heard each other's talk. So I wanted to get your thoughts. We had talked about it backstage. We had hinted about it on Friday. Real tough spot for him. And you saw it in the first round. He's sitting there like this, just trying to get through on his back for 3 minutes. Showed flashes. He got him once or twice, and then put him down late in the fourth, middle of the fourth. Chokehold, thanks for playing. Thoughts of that fight and what you saw for the card. A lot of unhappy people, as there's some memes out there of all the favorites coming in and everyone running with the bags of money. Because, again, you're looking for some dogs. It's like what we do. We read the market. You're looking to pick a dog or two because no one likes eating a chalk sandwich. So thought on the championship fight, the main event, I should say, and the card in general.
Yeah, the card as a whole, I'll get to the main event in a second. I mean, like you said, very, very chalky, and we kind of alluded to that on Friday when we kind of previewed it, teased it a little bit, that I thought, it would be very chalky. Maybe we'd get an upset in one of those main fights, but we just didn't see it. And I mean, again, for anyone who's not, you don't even have to be a UFC, expert, which I am not going to consider myself a UFC expert to know that some of the judges in some of those fights, ultimately, I don't think there was really any, there were some split decisions that were, outrageous that they were split decisions. Maybe there was one. I can't think of really any bigger fight that the actual decision was altered too heavily by some judges' scorecards. But I know the Sean Strickland Paulo Costa fight had 50-45, 49-46. Sean Strickland, and then the one judge had it either 4 out of 5 or 5 rounds all to Costa, which is as egregious as a flip-flop as I've ever seen. So I don't know what checks and balances have to be done for judging going forward. I feels like there should be more than just 3 judges. Maybe I'm not a diehard UFC guy as far as the judging and whatnot, so maybe I'm eating my words on that altogether. But as far as the main event, Poirier exceeded my expectations because, like you said, the first round, I thought that's what either the entire fight was going to be. In best case, he survives to the decision, and we just get a clean sweep 5 rounds, maybe 1 round for Poirier. But he exceeded my expectations. Like I said, he caught him a couple times and really opened up a chance for himself with one more good shot to win that thing. So, really showed the resiliency of Makhachev to work through that and still find a way to just be an absolute bear. I don't know what other term you can use for him, because he's obviously not the best boxer, whatnot, but he can hold his ground enough that he that's not, you wouldn't call that a weakness necessarily, but it is when you have someone who has as good a striking as Poirier did. That was the blueprint, at least in that fight there. And then, man, you get someone that's not a world class grappler on the ground with him, and it's just almost impossible to do anything with him there. So I think you're going to start to see some new faces in those title fights with Makhachev, assuming he continues to go for defending this title and furthering this winning streak that he's got. I don't know if it's 13 or 14. I can't remember if it was 13 after this one, or now that he got it, it's 14. But either way, it is going to be so damn difficult for anyone to beat him, and you would be hard pressed to find someone to beat him in the way that he in at his strengths. And so you almost need someone that like Dustin can just catch him once or twice in the right spot. So I don't think Poirier, he kind of alluded to it if anyone saw the post fight, he's not sure if he's going to get another chance. If he has another legitimate shot at a title, then I assume he will go. But if it's another, you got to go back and win 3-4 fights before we give you another shot, he's not going to do that. So whether it's Gaethje, because I don't think Gaethje has gotten a shot at Makhachev himself. So whether it's him, which would be a little bit of a same style fight as what we just saw with Poirier, and Gaethje maybe a little bit more well-rounded, I don't know. But other than that, you're going to see some new guys probably challenging Makhachev, and I'm not holding my breath, at least at 32 for Makhachev yet. I'm not holding my breath for anyone to unseat him in the next couple of years right now.
As you stated, I will say I am no UFC expert, and actually, I won't reveal, I won't call this guy out, but we did have someone somewhat of an expert that came onto our show for the past year or 2 years, the kind of big league and big stage in us, as he got some camera time on VEASAN and some camera time on the UFC as well, forgetting where they came from. And I'm not going to call you out, but you know who I'm talking about. Dana White, by the way, called out whoever the damn judge or judges were on 2 fights that were just absolutely atrocious. Rest in peace, Pop DiBiase, Jamal Brown, because we will always talk boxing. And when you're watching a combat sport such as UFC and boxing, all 3 of us as judges are sitting front row ringside. And you watch the fight differently, whether it's the oohs of the crowds or the wows, or you're hearing the sound of the hitting to the head or wherever. You can see it differently. But watching that card and those 2 judges, and that Strickland fight was like watching paint dry. I
Yeah,
Strickland with his hands up, knees up, and it was just like, what are we watching here?
right.
And these experts on social media just bored to death, and criticizing the fact that they were getting $80 per head, to watch this was kind of atrocious as a headliner, or 302. And now we're getting ready for 303 there. And Mr. Saylor, you talking about me, JD. Mr. Saylor, you know my love affair with you and your knowledge, whether it's the Colts, UFCs. I would never call you out like that, sir. So where I'm going is, not being the UFC expert, when I saw Conor McGregor come up, I knew he was special. When I saw when I saw the champ, and I always screw up. Say his last name for me one time, please. Who just fought on
Oh,
Saturday?
Makhachev.
Makhachev. When I saw him come up, I'm like, oh, this is a
Yeah.
bad dude. Dana White poo-pooed it real quick. He says, you put him in the same room with John Jones and you close the door, only one man's coming out. He said, that's John Jones. So don't put them in the same breath, which I found kind of surprising. Did you?
With weight classes, no. I think we've seen some other guys who you would describe as stone cold killers try to go up a little bit, and as if they're meeting someone who's that skilled, they don't really stand a chance. So no, I don't think that's surprising. John Jones is the greatest we've ever seen. And as far as Makhachev, the disappointing thing for me is that, I mean, you look through who he's fought, and he's got a great roster of dudes that he's fought. But I mean, for 2-3 years, some of the stars in this division, this is one of my favorite divisions just because of the star power of it. There's dudes that are stone cold killers, you would call themselves, that were, for the most part, ducking Makhachev until obviously Makhachev has ascended and now everyone wants his belt. So, because I mean, as far as stars that he's fought, he's got the last few, he fought Volk twice, he's got Poirier now, he's got Charles Oliveira. But aside from that, I mean, like I said, he hasn't fought Gaethje. He missed out on him and Conor McGregor. Obviously, didn't overlap. Conor would have to go on a run now to get back up to that. There's a lot of guys that you would consider stars that I think Dan Hooker, being the one who's not quite what he was a few years ago, stepped up and took a fight. But aside from that, I mean, Sarukian, who now is one of the bigger contenders, took him earlier on in his career. So I bet you would see that rematch coming soon, who I'm sure most people probably don't know that name very well, but I think I'm looking at the rankings right now, and I think he is technically the number one contender. So I don't know if you're going to see that next, or, you get, Gaethje just lost to Holloway, obviously, but you got Oliveira in the mix too. So I don't know who's next for Makhachev, but I mean, the dude's a killer and he loves to fight. So probably a little bit more beat up after this one than normal. But I mean, to stick around and get the submission in this one too was pretty damn impressive, and there wasn't much he could do there. And then got to give a shout out to Kevin Holland, who I think called himself one of the best gatekeepers the UFC has ever seen, which is kind of true. But the armbar that he put,
God! And the announcers sitting
and you
there
saw
saying,
it coming too.
"It's
You saw it
broken,
coming too, and he looked at the ref straight in the eyes, and he started to say, "I'll break it," and then I still don't know, and I didn't watch a ton of post coverage and whatnot of this one, so I still don't know if he actually broke it or if he dislocated it. But either way, credit to you got so many guys who will let you have their arm broken before they tap out. But that obviously was that was a tough sight if you're a little worse for wear on the graphic stuff there in the UFC.
I'll be honest. I turned my head. I couldn't look at him. I just get that, and I said this before. When they're just shredding the leg and the thing is swollen like a grapefruit, and I can't watch it. I'm just like, guys, I can't take that. But and then funny, waking up this morning, I guess there was supposed to be some big press conference with Conor McGregor, and they had to cancel that. So a lot of people thought that they were canceling that, like the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, which is now canceled there. But no, that wasn't the case there. We'll be excited to see what happens in 303, obviously, with the return of Conor. That fight's basically a pick 'em. If you Venmo'd me to bet 100 on Conor, I'd Venmo you 200. I can't at this point. What he has done for the game and now where he is now, if he wins, he wins, but it wouldn't be with my dollar there. but we got time there. I know. We got time there.
No, I'm not the big. I am. I love what, like you said, love what Connor's done. I am until I see it again. I am not a believer in the year of 2024 and Conor McGregor. He hasn't beat anyone other than Donald Cerrone in the octagon in about 8 years. So I'm not a hater. I am not, but I am not buying into the hype. And Michael Chandler is a bad man. So. My thoughts probably will not change here until June 29th when those two face off.
It was funny. Saturday, I thought I missed the boat. Let me backtrack here. I'm going to go to the RBC, the Canadian Open, because I sat here and I said on the show Friday, I missed a big opportunity, and I saw McIntyre 4 shots back, and I said to myself, man, this guy's rounding into form. And then got up Saturday morning to do the show, sent the alert out, and I was like, man, I missed a big opportunity here on Rory. I had already said to myself, it's McIntyre's to lose here. There was a bunch of, I don't want to say no names and disrespect, but there wasn't a signature event, and Rory, last time they played here, had won this. Now, would we get Rory as in we know he has another gear in the bag or not? And I left it on the desk, and I was glad I did Saturday. Because again, McIntyre 4-shot lead, and I get up Sunday morning and I'm like, wow, free swing here. Rory 7 shots back, plus 24 or 2,500 at the Circa, plus 17 or 1,800 at DraftKings. And I was like, hey, pizza and beer money, why not? And Rory got all the way to within 3 and as low as plus 550 on DraftKings. Couldn't catch him. Thoughts on Mr. McIntyre and his dad on the bag?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. I mean, if you're a golfer, I mean, it does not get much better than that. So props to Robbie Mack. That one was one that he's been working for, obviously, for a while, and he gets some good exemptions coming up. No, I did think someone had a good chance of catching him yesterday. So, I think you feel good about Rory. Rory he's got the second round 72. Otherwise, he's got a 66, 65, and 64. So if he can just avoid that one mediocre round, he's probably going to win a major this year, my man. So he's going to be in the mix this next one for sure. Rory is. And the other guy that, another guy who kind of just he's starting to find another gear. He's just still trying to weed out the inconsistent holes or inconsistent spots is Tom Kim. He played really, really well all weekend long and has been circling the wagons a bit. I still think it's a little early. He'd have to go, obviously, 4 great days. He just can't put the 4 days in a row really all together there for Tom Kim. So, no, Robbie Mack, we've seen him in the past show some flashes, so I'd be curious to see what he brings to the table at some of these bigger events coming up here. So, outside of that, I mean, yeah, a lot of names that aren't star-studded names that are in the mix here. So this is a fun one. The other guy we talked about, I can't remember if it was Thursday or Friday, who after a great first day kind of treaded water a little bit, but certainly didn't play bad. That I think we could see back in the mix in a lot of these tournaments. Majors we'll see, but at least as far as these. Guys that are borderline stars that could win a couple of tournaments this year. Sam Burns obviously was one closer to being a top 10. He might have even been in the top 10 before all of the live stuff shook out. I could be wrong with that, but certainly a top 20 player for a while. And then hit a little bit of a lull these last couple of years and is starting to make his way back up. So I'll be looking at him and what his odds are these next couple of weeks for some of these bigger tournaments.
Yeah, and we'll have Brady on Wednesday at 5. If I remember correctly, Jack's course, the Memorial. And then next weekend, if I'm correct, Father's Day weekend will be the U.S. Open. This week, the horses are here. Scotty will be there. Rory will be there. Xander will be there. All the guys getting ready for the following week at the U.S. Open. I do know Brady made mention last week he grabbed some plus 475s, maybe even 5-1s on Scotty for the U.S. Open. I'm holding back. I might dive to the well for a 2-unit play with the VIPs. What we did at the Masters, I couldn't do the plus 475. Did a 2-unit play on Scotty. So plus 950 sounded a lot better. And we know the history there. But, catching them at 5-1 and a 2-unit play would get them at 10-1 there. Do want to say breaking news. I don't have time yet. I will confirm. I know he's West Coast, so it'll probably be the midday market report. Drew Dinsick, good friend, colleague, NBC Sports Bet. We're going to get him on tomorrow to talk some French Open. And the Joker says, I'm not done yet, boys. And again, rallies the troops to mystify odds as we're getting into week 2. And we're getting into the quarter semis and the finals in the men's and women. So we will have Drew on probably tomorrow afternoon. I'll put it up on our timeline to talk some French Open there. NBA doesn't start till Thursday, blah, 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 blah. NHL, it's funny. Did a show this afternoon with Andrew McGinnis, replaying the Western Conference Finals. And for the ECSI VIPs, we had the board covered. Rangers pre-flop in October, early November, Eastern Conference champs, Stanley Cup champs. Early January, Dallas Stars, Western Conference champs, Stanley Cup champs. And as the tournament began, we had to grab some Florida Panthers plus 425 to win the cup, and the Edmonton Oilers plus 450 to win the cup. So again, we're sitting plus 425, plus 450. We didn't get any Eastern or Western Conference champs. Dallas up 2-1, 2-0, game 4 in Edmonton. And Mr. Skinner, of all people, said, hold my beer. Edmonton goes on like an 8-1 scoring run, win game 4, 5-2, win game 5 in Dallas, and come back up 2-0, late goal by Dallas, not enough. Outshot 35-10 at some point in that game. Oilers, Connor McJesus, heading to the Stanley Cup to face the Panthers.
And I think, I am always going to watch the Stanley Cup, but I mean, for the average person who's not a huge hockey fan, that will, maybe turn on the Stanley Cup, at least having Connor McDavid in it, I think, is enough of a draw. Because other than that, I mean, the average American citizen who's a sports fan, who's not a diehard hockey fan, Edmonton and Florida Panthers probably not moving the needle for those people. But I think finally getting Connor McDavid that far is huge. And obviously, it's been, 30 years since we've had a Canadian team win. So I know, obviously, those fan bases or the Canadian fan base is obviously going to be tuning in, as they always do. But I'm curious to see how it goes. Obviously, I'm not the hockey guy, but I've had an Edmonton ticket for a little while now. So definitely going to take my chances, or not take my chances, take my money and run and, get in and get the split there one way or another. So curious to see. I haven't dove too deep into the odds, so I actually don't even know what it is yet. But I imagine it's around minus 130, 35 for Florida, correct?
Florida minus 125, Edmonton plus 105. I said this on the show with Andrew, and I'm telling my age here, guys. Maybe it was 85. No, you said 30 years, so 84. 94, 104, 14. No, okay. Well, I was at the game 3 and 4, Bruins versus the Oilers, when the Oilers had Grant Fuhr, Paul Coffey, Wayne Gretzky, Messier, and Curry. And the funny thing is, the Bruins lose game 3. They're down 3-0. Game 4, Monday night, fog. It was about 80 degrees outside the Garden. And they called the game because you couldn't see it. You couldn't see 2 feet in front of you. And we all knew it was a wrap. So they said, Edmonton, you take the game where it's colder, and we'll let you play game 4 in Edmonton, and you'll hoist the cup. It's been a few years since then. But what amazes me with this Oiler team is 28 power play kills in a row. It's Stuart Skinner. It's not Grant Fuhr or Andy Moog. I don't see Paul Coffey back there. I don't see Gretzky. I don't see Messier. But I do see Mr. McDavid. I do see Leon. And I see a team that's hungry and I see Dave Portnoy trying to hoist another $1 million ticket. So I don't know. You're either all in with the Panthers, who have beaten Vasilevsky, Swayman, and now Igor Shesterkin.
Again, I can't add too much to it, but that lineup and now another one, hot goalie in their face, would definitely give anyone with a Panthers ticket some solace there. So I'll lean into my love for McDavid here tonight. I'm with you. I don't know how it's gonna go. Florida is the better team, but at least Edmonton's special teams have been pretty nuts.
Yeah, and that's not till Saturday. The NBA is not until Thursday. College baseball going on as we speak. My Yukon Huskies played a great game yesterday. Win and go to the Supers, or lose and play tonight at 9. They faced Oklahoma, who's hosting the regional. 3-3. I watched the lefty pitch. I'm like, we're in trouble here. And sure enough, Oklahoma puts up a 4 spot, I think, in the 7th, and they go on to win. They face each other today, and I think Oklahoma's like a -180. So UConn's got their work cut out for them there. But if you're looking for some college baseball to scratch an itch, go watch it. And there's some college softball going on. Is Florida putting a beat down, or they were, against Oklahoma, who's not number 1. Texas is. Getting my teams and regions mixed up. So college baseball, college softball going on. And tonight we got some baseball. And again, I'd love to say this thing. I do have a couple leans in baseball tonight, but it's been brutal, guys. We're at the past the quarter pole. We're at the 50-game mark. And baseball, if Judge and Soto 1-2 right now in offense, according to Fangraphs, they had them 1-3 before the season started. The Yankees, Garrett Cole pitching a AAA game, I think, on Tuesday. Might go one more before he gets back, but they're the team to beat right now, Riley, in my eyes.
Oh, 100%, especially, I mean, in the AL and probably in the entire league, especially you get some guys back. You have to imagine they're probably going to be semi-aggressive at the trade deadline, if not very aggressive, to, avoid having another because it's one thing to do what they've been the last couple of years and be that kind of, borderline playoff team and get into the playoffs and fizzle out in the playoffs. It'd be another if they had a fantastic season, won around 100 games, and fizzled out in the playoffs again. So I imagine the urgency is sky high for them. It has to be. So 100% they're the team to beat. I mean, you look at the AL Central, a couple teams playing well there, but, I'm sure as far as playoffs go, at least now, not, it's not a team that's, if you're the Yankees, those teams aren't keeping you up at night. And the Powers in the AL West aren't playing well either right now. So 100% the team to beat for sure in the AL. And then obviously, the Braves have been a little up and down themselves. Dodgers haven't been fully in gear. So it is 100% been the Yankees' first, third or quarter of the season, whatever you want to call it, to this point, my friend.
Yeah, and I'll throw 2 more nuggets up there, and then we'll get into tonight's board. There is, and the name's escaping me, former Pittsburgh Pirate, now San Diego Padre, who hasn't played a game, potential lifetime ban, I guess, while with the Pirates on the IL, was betting on or against the Pirates. So look for him to fall on the sword and potentially get a lifetime ban there. And of course, the showy haters are going to say, oh, well, look, Showy can bet on sports and baseball most likely, but he is the golden child. So practice what you preach there in baseball. And then again, I haven't read the full story. Listen, there's been a lot of Caitlin Clark pro and cons. I'm not going to throw there's a lot of big time players on the far left side or the far right side, and I'm not going to go down that alley. I'm staying right in the middle. A lot of negativity towards the meal ticket, and the WNBA now has charters. They now have a lot more privileges and a lot more money in there because of the emergence and the entrance to Caitlin Clark. Now, you're talking about a UConn dad here, 2 daughters, one graduate, one sophomore, season ticket holder to the men's program, 2-time national champs, looking for a three-peat. When she was getting drafted on draft day, Diana Taurasi, I think 2-3-time UConn women's champ, Sue Bird, both UConns. These guys paved the way. Well, they didn't pave the way before Cheryl Miller, Shanika Holdsclaw, and the emergence of women's basketball and women's sports, okay? Now, I guess Pat McAfee called her, quote-unquote, white bitch. He was having her on his show regularly, and going to be on once a week. So he said it kind of tongue-in-cheek as a, I don't know, as a catch-all, be-all, whatever. I haven't dove really into the story, but he has now come on and apologized, trying to be cute and coy. Do you know anything about the story?
You know, I haven't been on top of it too much, other than you know what, I agree with what you're saying. Essentially, as I don't understand all of the negativity around it. If anything, she's gaining popularity to the sport, and if you truly believe that she isn't the one and isn't going to be the best player in the league, this and that, and isn't going to be the face of the league, then let it be proven on the court over the next 2-3 years, for God's sakes. I mean, at the very least right now, what's happening is interest in people actually talking about and watching the sport after the issues was that no one was talking about or watching the sport. So if anything else, she is bringing all of that to it. I'm not going to – I haven't watched really her highlights or any of these games. Obviously not doing well, but she went to a team that was obviously struggling in the past. So, I assume I know the physicality has been, obviously a lot eye-opening for her. But at the end of the day, I don't understand the negativity around it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but she doesn't seem like she's arrogant and throwing this in people's faces either. She's kind of just going with the flow and accepting the annoyance. But at the end of the day, if she isn't going to be, if you don't think she's that one, then let it be seen and let it be shown on there, or go out and beat her. And like you said, all those, Sue Bird and Taurasi that you named, there were people before them as well, women before those individuals as well that paved the way. So again, if there's going to be others that need to unseat her, like Russell said, I didn't actually see what Pat McAfee said, but I assume he was praising her, which is, and Russell said poor choice of words. So I'm sure that's not as big of a story as it was probably made out to be. But at the end of the day, I think the media is going to champion for her. And if you're a player, you don't need to also champion for her. But, pissing and moaning like they are for the most part isn't going to do it. Go out and win some championships then if you're really that salty about it.
Yeah, and without going down that road, whether it's the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, the Jamal Hills of the world, the View, I don't even want to say Perk in that regards. In other words, he was talking Shannon Sharp, and there was a someone that came on with Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp, and this WNBA player kind of called out Stephen A. Smith, saying, you could have talked about the WNBA 2 and 3 years ago on your platform. And Stephen A. looked at her like, what are you calling me out here? And why? Now we're talking about the WNBA because why? Caitlin Clark's now involved. And again, the hip check that started more animosity and all this more talk on social media was from someone that I think has been on 2 or 3 teams and was let go because of poor teammate play, attitude, and the list is endless. So these quote unquote bullies basically are getting notoriety off of the hip checks and towards Caitlin Clark instead of embracing what is going on. And again, yes, she does need to add 10, 15 pounds. Yes, potentially the coach needs to leave that team. Yes, they need to get a couple bullies for themselves. So if this does happen, people start sticking up to her. And as Russell said, Pat was praising Caitlin. He's had her on her show before, and he's going to have her on every week, he said. Pat's smarter than that. And again, he was being cute and coy by doing what he did. And again, we're here to talk sports. hopefully give you guys some winners, some educational. And we talked 35 minutes without getting into the board. It's a short board. If you see something, a game you want to break down, holler. I got a couple team totals on my end, so the board's yours, Riley.
All right, the one that I at least wanted to bring up here to see your thoughts on, we've got Detroit and Texas, both 29 and 30. This one is in Texas. And you've got Tariq Skubal on the mound for Detroit, who has been absolutely dynamite. 7-1, 2.01 ERA. Top 10 in wins, ERA, Ks, WHIP. I think number 2 in WHIP right now in the league. 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 8 Ks last time out. Really only a couple where he's given up 4 runs, and that's the black marks on his season right now. And the Tigers are minus 115 in this one. So curious if that's enough respect for you, because you got Nathan Eovaldi on the other side of this thing for Texas. It'd be a different thing for me if you had someone who's struggling. Well, not someone who's struggling, someone who you not as much notoriety to his name on the other end. The caveat, though, this is start number 2 for Eovaldi, back off of an IL stint. Only 3 innings last time out, 37 pitches. So very, very short start there last time out. Are we buying the price for Detroit here, or is this a little goofiness with Eovaldi still working his way back here?
Spring training, we gave out, I call him Cy Skubal as the American League Cy Young winner. His last start, lights out. The time before he finally laid that egg, it was a perfect spot. I had an overnight number here of them minus 115. It's kind of hard for me to see the Tigers as a favorite on the road against the world champs. I mean, when we're looking for edges, it used to be starting pitching. And how do we take advantage of that edge? Well, we'd go in first 5, whether it's a money line, short number, or if it's a big favorite, you minus the half run, grab them at even money, maybe plus a little money, and hope that you're not tied after 5. You don't have to worry about bridges, the back end, the bullpens, and stuff like that. This is strictly Skubal versus the world here. Tigers kind of got left the door. They won an extra inning game against the Sox. Prior to that, they had lost the first 2. So again, which Tiger team shows up? The whole world is on Skubal's shoulders. The value's on Eovaldi and the Rangers, who are struggling right now. They're looking to find their bats and stuff. I'm not here to give out Skubal. Anyone that wants to take the Tigers in the first 5, I don't have a problem with that. For me, if I was to play this game, I would go longer, and I would take a shot at the Tigers full game versus the Tigers first 5 here.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, you had I think it's minus 120 in the first 5, and then right around to pick them for the full game. Texas starting to turn the wheels a little bit these last few over the weekend. Couple series wins in a row, I believe, here. So curious to see what we get out of Texas these next few weeks. And Tigers, obviously, with Skubal playing well, but they've been teetering on the brink of slipping further out of the contention race there. But 29 and 30, so got a lot of work to do left. Obviously, I didn't see a starter listed for San Francisco later tonight. I'm kind of bouncing all over the place here.
Miller.
Okay, it is listed. Okay. Baltimore and Toronto, another one in an hour and a half or so. Rodriguez versus Gozman. Orioles coming in as the at least now the favorite, right around minus 115. Rodriguez pitching pretty solid for the most part this year. He's had a couple of hiccups. Last time out, 6 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs on 1 walk and 10 Ks, so a little bit of good and bad there for him. Starting to get better this season as a mid-20-year-old starter. Gozman, last 2, starting to put it together these last 2. Had a handful of hiccups, but 1 earned run in each of his last 2. Last time out against the White Sox, 4 hits, 1 earned. Time before that against Detroit, 3 hits, 1 earned, 10 Ks. Are we buying Baltimore as a favorite, or are you liking what you're seeing out of Gozman starting to lurk here in the in this Toronto rotation, starting to win some games?
Overnight number, Baltimore minus 120. You could get the Jays at plus 100. Currently at the Circa, minus 105 on both sides. 7.5 juiced under at the Mecca, at the Circa. Good afternoon to Mr. Benson, Mr. Metcalf, and of course, Mr. Stevens. What's the world coming to here with the ace of Toronto as a dog at home? Jay's starting to get a little offense in their last 5 to 7 games. I found it, and this is just my take here. There's been talks of them blowing this team up, trading both Bichette and Vlad. There was rumors and speculation this weekend. No, we're looking to extend both of them. When I see Vlad starting at third base the first time in forever, my 2 cents is that they're throwing some feelers out to some teams if they're interested in Vlad. And one of them picked up the phone and says, hey, can you do us a favor? Can we see what he looks like at third base? It's been a long time since we've seen that, wink, wink. So it's not the Jays just waking up and saying, hey, Vladdy, how do you feel about playing third base today? So keep your eyes on that. And it's 5:55 on June 3rd. When it happens, say, hey, Jeff brought that up on the closing bell, because you don't just wake up and say, hey, Vladdy, get on over to third base today.
I like what you're putting down, my friend. I mean, are we could we be talking about a team looking for a splash? San Francisco ponying up. I mean, obviously the team, unfortunately for Toronto, maybe not unfortunately, but some of the players that are usually in for big players like that are in their division, so they probably don't want to send Vladdy to the big players in their own division. So maybe San Francisco across the country there might be the option.
Well, the funny is last week I said buy some stock in San Francisco, buy some stock in the Padres, because the Mets are a fire sale waiting to happen. And before I could get the words out, Diaz was put on the IL, and then Alonso got plunked, but Alonso still playing. And Diaz, again, needs a change of scenery. So, again, if it's going to be the Jays that blow it up, and listen, OMG, if San Fran could add a Vladdy and a Bo, a 2-for-1 special, sign me up for that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it would definitely cost half the farm for sure. But I agree with what you're saying, my man. San Diego and LA, another one. LA Angels, I should say. Another one, San Diego on the road, minus 145 here. San Diego starting to turn the wheels a little bit. Another team that you talked about last week is a team that could be a player for adding some pieces potentially here. Won each of their last couple of series, I believe. Yes, each of their last couple of series, Kansas City and Miami. They're 32-30 now. Angels struggling, 21-38. Would you like to see this Padres team? Matt Waldron, not obviously a star, but would you have liked to see this Padres team as a bigger favorite against this Angels team? Waldron 6 hits, no runs last time out. However, Anderson for the Angels has been pitching well, so maybe that's just some respect to Anderson there.
Overnight number of minus 130 with an 8.5 juice under. Now 142. Can get the Angels plus 130, 8.5 juiced under, minus 120. Been picking on Anderson now for a while, going against him with the opponent's team total, and he's bit me in the ass a few times. I think we got him last time. Waldron has pitched better. A tale of two cities here. If other than probably your White Sox, the Angels, the worst team in baseball at home, the Padres, one of the better road teams. So if you want to get in on a Padres first 5, do so. I know some people that don't want to lay the juice that are playing the Padres run line today. Don't have a problem with that. And I'll go one step further. If you're looking for some even money, Padres to get to 5 today at plus 100. I like that as well.
I like it, and you are correct. They are the only team that has not hit double-digit wins in their home building yet this year. The Angels, 7-21. The White Sox, on the other hand, as you mentioned, one of two teams that have not hit double-digit wins on the road. White Sox with 5, so we might be into the All-Star break before they get that 10th one on the road there. But I digress. Anything else that you would like to put down? We've got a few other games on the docket. Brewers traveling from, they were home against the White Sox. Traveling over to Philly is the at least record-wise one of the better series that we've got starting up this week.
I'm going to throw out a couple nuggets here, and then I have a question for you about your White Sox. As one of your past generals got very adamant, and he's spot on, by the way, and that's Mr. Ozzie Guillen, but we'll get to him in 1 second. I don't want to say Wheeler's leaking oil. They got the 2 horses there with Wheeler and Nola, but again, this Brewers team can put the ball in play. You can get them to get to 4 or better today, plus 120. My eyes were there. And a sad day in baseball when the Mets traveled to Washington. And Gore, who's been pitching better of late, the Nationals are favored over the Mets, who just can't close a game. If you could bet them leading the game in the 7th or 8th and then bet against them to give up the game, you'd be a rich man as they blow another one. So again, I can't take the Nationals as a favorite here. So if you wanted to sprinkle something on the Mets first 5, don't have a problem there. And last but not least, Gil Alexander, who I respect very much so, on VSiN. If you're not following, please do. Very articulate, very bright. Has the Houston Astros as the team. He got it 25-1 at Caesars, and I think around 16, 17-1 at the Circa as the most victories in the month of June. Bregman, Alvarez starting to heat up. They got Verlander, as my buddy Brady Tinker says, on the mound against Gibson. The number's too high for me there at minus 180, now 176. I like Verlander minus the hook first 5 against Kyle Gibson there. You can get the Astros to get to 5 or better today. At plus 110. Keep an eye on that one there. And last but not least, speaking of San Francisco, I've been, as I said with Tyler Anderson, Nelson on the mound for Arizona, and I've been picking on him of late. You can get San Francisco to get to 5 or better tonight, plus 110. So those are some team totals and stuff to keep an eye on there. Ozzie Guillen lit into the abyss of the Washington of the White Sox, just how bad it is right now. And we know you're going to sell off some pieces before we get to the break, but just how analytics has destroyed and ruined the game, the launch angle. He goes, it's nothing but an eye test. And as a former baseball coach and basketball coach, it is about the eye test. And you can sit, watch, and just see the beauty of the game and how the game is being ripped out of the hearts of the true fans and the diehards, and you're living, eating, drinking. And I'm the same way. We got Alex Cora, who's won us a championship, who's dead man walking the last year of his contract. He's being force-fed the lineup card every day, and he can't even speak his mind, can't even put the lineup that he wants to out there because it's brought from the nerds to the GM to the manager. And thoughts of Ozzie Guillen saying, guys are ruining the game. You ruined the game, and living in it in Chicago this year.
No, 100%, and it's especially tough to die on that hill when you're the worst team in baseball and you continue to say we got to look at the analytics and see what we need to fix. I think that there's a touch of it that could be used helpful and makes certain situations a little smarter and make a little more sense that you might not have been able to see 20, 30 years ago. Yes, definitely, but you living and dying by it drives me absolutely crazy. And love Ozzie Guillen. I'm curious to see how many more of those rants he'll go on before the ownership and whatnot tries to pull leash back a little bit. I think he'll leave the show before he is censored by any stretch, if you know Ozzie Guillen. So one of the more entertaining pregame guys for any regional network. So it is really disappointing, and he's a great example of a manager, especially for an organization. And again, it would have been wrong to rehire him because we have a terrible habit of rehiring people that we've previously fired that were rightfully fired at the end of their tenure. However, the caveat that I always had 2-3 years ago when we had our team was that we had so many Cuban-born players, Latin American players, where it would have been the exact right voice to grab their shoulders and shake them by the shoulders to get them on the right track as far as their mindset and how to try, approach the game on a daily basis, because there just isn't as much leadership as there used to be, and that is seriously lacking. You look at some of these rebuilds that have failed, whether it be this White Sox one. I'm obviously not as close to Toronto, but that one, another one where, and a couple other ones where these rebuilds just are going south after a couple of years of halfway decent success, and it's partially because of sticking too much to the analytics and not having as much leadership, adult leadership for some of these young players, and it is sad to see, and especially I've got a little more a little bit more of a bone to pick as far as thinking this was going to be the golden era of White Sox baseball by now. But at the end of the day, I agree 100%. And, if it wasn't for, paying, having to pay Pedro Grifol, he's obviously not going to be the manager much longer, but, firing him obviously isn't going to solve any problems immediately. And so he's probably going to sit this one out a little bit longer before they actually pull the plug on him. Otherwise, obviously, if they were, a little closer to 500, they'd probably try and pull the plug. If they had better expectations coming into the season, they probably would have pulled the plug by now and moved on. But obviously, there's no expectation, so he's just gonna continue to fall on the sword day after day. So it's tough to watch, obviously, but as far as bad teams, especially leaning onto these analytics and whatnot. So I don't think that's going to change. But I do think, as you've seen kind of in some of these other sports who lean all the way into analytics, yes, they kind of move into a trend of using those analytics, but at the end of the day, still trusting the dudes and the players who have actually played this game and know how to, manage and lead these, certain players in some of these successful organizations across sports.
And the sad part, especially for you, is, you make the Chris Sale trade, we send over Makata, Kopech, and some other pieces. You had, and a guy that's fallen way off of grace, Tim Anderson. You had Jose Abreu. You had, you had Dylan Cease, but you had a couple more offensive weapons there too.
Grandal. You had, you had 2-3 guys who,
Luis
Andrew
Roberts.
Robert,
Vaughn.
who's going to be back this year, and he's going to, he was playing, he's still got a great career ahead of him, I hope. But Vaughn and Eloy Jimenez, two guys who, especially by now, you would expect to be, if not all-stars, borderline all-stars, and they've just been, Eloy has shown flashes, but just can't stay on the field, and Andrew Vaughn has just been a outright disappointment so far. A couple of those guys are guys who I could see going a change of scenery to a good organization and having success. And I don't need to go on a full rant, but the White Sox themselves don't get enough credit as being one of the most poorly run organizations in all the sports. Their owner is, Bulls fans will tell you as well, a very, very bad owner who cares about putting butts in seats and selling tickets, and his main goal is to kind of do that. Well, we talked about other owners, is having the team good enough to put butts in seats, but not good enough to where they the fans want them over the luxury tax. And from a White Sox standpoint, the organization top to bottom has been very, very poorly run for a long time. And unless there's any change in leadership, it is not going to be solved anytime soon.
And for me, as the Red Sox guy, the funny thing is it's Rafael Devers, the headline, and then there's 8 others that no one knows their names. I mean, literally the 2 people that, if you went on the street right now and you pulled 100 people, can you give me some people on the Red Sox? It would be Devers and Alex Cora, the manager. That's it. No one knows this cast of characters. And I'm not saying, I'm not the youth movement, we get it, but how many years in a row can we finish last here? You know, we're a big market team that spends money that now is turned into the Boston Red Sox or the Tampa of the East, and you can't have it both ways. You know, and going back to you know, the Ken Harrelson, the Hawk upstairs. You know, you had Ozzie Guillen. You know, you bring in Tony La Russa once, you bring him back, he's sleeping, he's drunk, he's I don't know what he is at this point. And you know, he had the OUI, you had the perfect chance to kind of slide him out of Dodge. Instead, he's sleeping in the corner. I'm like, hey Tony, I got money on you guys. You know, can you wake up and pull the pitcher here? And he's snoozing away. You know, so
I'll never forget. Yeah, we'll be done. I'll never forget the fan in the first row by the dugout telling him who to pinch run, and then he snaps to and actually puts him in. But no, he was going to put him in anyways. But anyways, no, I will for a very long time until they are good again be very, very upset of how these last 2-3 years were managed on the south side, my friend.
Shout out to Mr. Berry, Mr. Sailor. I want to thank everyone watching the show. We can't thank you enough. Without you guys, there would be no me, O'Reilly, or Closing Bell. Again, tomorrow, keep an eye on my timeline. I'll put it out there. Don't know if it'll be the Breakfast Bankroll with Drew Dinsink or it'll be the Midday Market Report. I know he's out west. I don't know what he's got for NBC tomorrow, but we're going to talk some French Open, men and women's. Going to be glad to have him back. I haven't seen him since the Radio Row and the Super Bowl when we were both out there in Vegas. So excited for that. So again, thank everyone. Tread lightly today. It's a new day, new week, new beginning. Full week of sports. Brady Tinker, Fox Sports, ESPN. We'll be talking Dallas. We will have obviously Julian Edlow talking from DraftKings, talking the NBA championship, which starts on Thursday. We will have Sean Alvarez talking to Belmont, which is on Saturday. We'll have Matt and Q1 talking super regionals and college baseball. Full week of sports. Me and Riley back here for the Closing Bell. And of course, Wednesday, we'll be talking Jack's Place with Brady Kannon. So from myself, Jeff Dawson at DC Sports Investor, the one and only, Riley Magnuson at Riley _Magnuson, the one. We wish everyone a blessed evening. Have some fun, and we will see you soon.